The last bell of the day usually felt like freedom, a mad dash for the buses and a weekend of dodging homework. But today, it was different. Instead of the usual chaos, Mrs. Davison's voice crackled over the intercom, tight and strained. Attention students and staff. We are now entering a school-wide lockdown. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. A hush fell over Mr. Henderson's history class. You could hear a pin drop, if anyone dared to actually drop one. We all exchanged nervous glances. Lockdown drills were a joke, mostly. We'd huddle under desks, pretend to be terrified, and then burst out laughing once the all-clear sounded. But the way Mrs. Davison said, "Not a drill," it sent a chill right down your spine. Mr. Henderson, usually a pretty chill guy, was suddenly all business. He slammed the door shut, twisted the lock, and then, without a word, started taping black construction paper over the window on the door. It wasn't the kind of paper we used for art projects, it was thick, almost leathery. "Everyone away from the windows," he whispered, his voice gruff. We scrambled, half crawling, to the back of the room, huddling against the wall where the textbooks were stacked. The air grew thick with unspoken questions. What was going on? Minutes stretched into an eternity. We could hear muffled shouts from the hallway, then a thud, like something heavy hitting the floor. My stomach clenched. Was it a fight? Or something worse? Then came the scratching. It started faint, a rhythmic scrape against the door. Like fingernails, long and jagged, dragging across the wood. Everyone froze. Sarah, who sat next to me, squeezed my arm so hard I thought her nails would dig right through my hoodie. Mr. Henderson held a finger to his lips, his eyes wide and fixed on the door. The scratching grew louder, more insistent. It sounded like something was trying to claw its way in. Suddenly, a low, guttural growl vibrated through the classroom. It wasn't human. It was deep, rattling, like a wild animal. And it was right outside our door. One of the younger kids, little Timmy from the front row, started to whimper. Mr. Henderson shot him a look that silenced him instantly. The scratching intensified, followed by a sickening splintering sound. Something was pushing against the door. Hard. The wood around the lock started to groan, tiny cracks appearing. We could hear heavy breathing now, ragged and wet. Then, a voice, raspy and distorted, slithered from the other side of the door. It wasn't Mrs. Davison's. It wasn't Mr. Henderson's. It was, a whisper that sounded like 1,000 voices speaking at once, like gravel grinding against stone. "Let us in." My blood ran cold. This wasn't a drill. This wasn't a fight. This was something else entirely. Something ancient and hungry. We pressed ourselves further into the wall, hardly daring to breathe, as the scratching and the growling in that awful, multi-voiced whisper echoed through the silent classroom. We just had to hope the door held. Because whatever was out there, it wasn't here to learn. The library after hours has a totally different vibe. During the day, it's all bustling and whispers, but at night, especially after everyone else has gone home, it feels cavernous. I was the last one left in the study room, buried under a mountain of textbooks for my history final. The old building creaked and groaned around me, like it was settling into its own kind of sleep. It was probably past midnight when I heard it. A soft, rhythmic thump, thump, thump. It wasn't coming from inside the study room, but from the main stacks, way in the back, where the really old, dusty books lived. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just the building's old pipes or something. But it kept going, steady and deliberate. Our science teacher, Mr. Davies, was quick. He locked the door, pulled the blinds, and we all squatted under our desks. The usual chatter was non-existent. You could hear your own heartbeat, loud and insistent. Then it started. A faint, high-pitched whimpering. It was coming from the hallway, just outside our door. It sounded small, like a kid, maybe crying softly. We all exchanged wide-eyed glances. No one moved. Mr. Davies just put a finger to his lips, his face pale. The whimpering continued for what felt like an eternity, ebbing and flowing, sometimes louder, sometimes fading, like whoever it was moving slowly down the hall. But it never went away. It was just this constant, heartbreaking sound. After about 20 minutes of that, a new sound joined it, a low, rhythmic scraping. Like something being dragged, slowly, over the linoleum floor. Scrape, scrape. And with every scrape, the whimpering seemed to grow more desperate, though it was still muffled. My friend, Maya, who was huddled under the desk next to mine, started trembling. She covered her mouth with her hands, tears welling in her eyes. I felt sick to my stomach. Who was out there? Why hadn't they gone into a classroom? The scraping got closer, and then the whimpering seemed to be right outside our door. It sounded like it was right there, just a few feet away. My breath hitched. Then, suddenly, both sounds stopped. Utter silence. The kind of silence that screams. We stayed frozen for another 10 minutes, maybe more. My legs were cramping, my muscles screaming, but I didn't dare move. Finally, Principal Thompson's voice came back over the intercom, sounding relieved, almost giddy. All clear, students and staff. The lockdown has been lifted. You may resume normal activities. As soon as the all clear sounded, there was a collective sigh of relief in the classroom. Mr. Davies unlocked the door, and we all spilled out. The hallway was empty. Spotlessly clean. No scuff marks, no signs of anyone crying or being dragged. Nothing. We talked about it for weeks. Some kids said they heard it too, others didn't. The teachers just brushed it off as part of the drill or your imagination running wild. But Maya and I, and a few others, we knew what we heard. To this day, even years later, whenever I walk down an empty hallway, especially in an old building, I swear I can still hear it. That faint, high-pitched whimpering, and the soft, dragging scrape. It's an echo that never quite leaves you, a chilling reminder of something that was out there, in the silence, on a normal Tuesday afternoon. My summer job at the old community center was usually pretty chill. Empty hallways, dusty rooms, and just me, the intern, locking up after the evening classes. It was an old building, red brick, with creaky floorboards and a smell of old wood and forgotten dreams. My favorite part was the little security office, mostly because it had a decent monitor for the CCTV feeds. 8 black and white screens showing grainy, uninteresting views of empty classrooms, the gym, the main hall, and the seldom-used auditorium. One Tuesday night, it was raining pretty hard. The kind of rain that makes everything feel isolated. I was in the security office, scrolling through my phone, half watching the feeds. Nothing. Just the usual static and shadows. Then, on feed number 4, which showed the entrance to the old music room, a room nobody ever used, always locked, supposedly because of water damage, something flickered. I thought it was just interference from the storm, so I rubbed my eyes. But then it happened again. A distinct, quick flash, like someone had just darted past the camera. I leaned closer, my phone forgotten. I rewound the footage a few seconds. There it was. A fleeting, indistinct shape, moving too fast to be anything clear. It looked thin. Almost translucent. My heart gave a little jump. Okay, probably just a bug on the lens, or maybe a trick of the light. Right? I watched that feed specifically for a while. Nothing. Just the rain outside, making blurry streaks down the window. I almost decided to just leave it, but then, on the same feed, it flickered again. This time, it wasn't a darting shape. It was a figure. Standing perfectly still, right in front of the music room door. It was tall, and seemed to be wearing something long and flowing. The CCTV was grainy, but I could make out that it was facing the door, its head slightly tilted. It stayed there for a full 30 seconds, unmoving, just observing the door. And then, slowly, it turned its head. My breath hitched. The figure seemed to turn its head directly towards the camera. And though the image was low-res, I swear, I could feel its gaze. Like it was looking right at me. Through the camera, through the wires, right into that little security office. It was like a cold hand just brushed the back of my neck. I wanted to scream, to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. The figure just stood there, its head angled towards the camera, for another few long seconds. Then, as slowly as it appeared, it seemed to just fade. Like smoke dissolving in the air, until the screen was empty again. I sat there, staring at the blank screen, my heart pounding. I was alone in the building. I'd checked every door and window. There was no way anyone could have gotten in without triggering an alarm, and none had gone off. I spent the rest of the night with all the lights on, keeping one eye on that monitor, though nothing else appeared. I tried to rationalize it, a glitch, a trick of the eye, exhaustion. But the feeling of being watched, of that silent figure seeing me through the lens, it never left. The next day, I asked the building manager about the music room. He just grunted, "Oh, that old thing. Been locked up for years. Nobody ever goes in there. Used to be where the old school choir practiced. Heard some strange things happened in there, back in the day. But that's just old rumors." He didn't need to tell me the rumors. I'd seen enough. I quit that job a week later. And now, whenever I see a CCTV camera, especially late at night, I can't help but wonder if something, somewhere, is looking back.